Me by now. I think all of you know me. So today I'm going to be presenting on China is leading the transition to a green economy. So for the past 3 years I've been presenting on climate change, and I've decided to take a different approach. I'm trying to tap into the national pride of the United States with this talk. Now, this will have the added benefit of mitigating climate change. And over 100 countries are pursuing actively, aggressively transitioning to renewable energy. Only 4 countries are still in oil and fossil fuels. So later on in this presentation, I'll be telling you more about that. So first, the sign-up sheet, everyone sign that. It'll be interactive, so put on your thinking caps. I'll be asking questions during the presentation. If you know the answer, just shout it out. If you have a question on what I'm presenting, just raise your hand, I'll recognize you, and then if I'm going to come to that later in the presentation, I'll wait until then, or I'll just answer the question. And I prefer to be called Joseph. The Bible tells us that we serve the earth and to take care of the garden, as God commanded Adam and Eve. So I'm an advocate for the church and climate justice. And climate change and the severe storms impact more heavily the poor and underserved communities. And our church does a lot with these communities to help recover, like through USAID. So renewables are the future, and it's a huge market. And I'll be coming to that later, but fossil fuels are the past. Transitioning to renewables will ensure long-term economic and environmental stability for the U.S., and this will ensure a livable earth for our children and grandchildren. Now, here are 2 photos taken from the NASA space program. The one on the right is from this year, the Artemis space program, and that has the Earth, and you'll see it's a little hazy. The one on the left is from the Apollo space program in 1972, and you'll see it's clearer. So this is what burning fossil fuels and putting carbon in the air has done to the Earth over 50 years. Now, how many countries, yes?
Could you make the screen bigger by putting it in presentation mode?
Yeah, there is a way.
Where's the...
There you go.
Perfect.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better.
All right. So how many countries signed the Paris Accord in 2015? Does anybody have an estimate? 197. Okay, of the 197, 193 are still in it. Only 4 dropped out. Can anybody name one?
The United States.
The United States.
Yeah, thank you, very good. So, let's see, Libya, Iran, and Yemen dropped out. So we're not in good company there.
It's worse and worse.
Now, the countries that are still in are the EU, the UK, China, Australia, Japan, Southeast Asia, Canada, South America, and even Russia is still in it, okay?
I think
So we're going in the wrong direction. What do you say?
I think we should send a letter to President Trump, naming the people that have dropped out and saying, I don't think you want to be in this company.
That's right, yes. And you can do that. You can send that letter.
Yes.
Or to your representative. Maybe you want to send it to Booker and Kim and tell them to tell him.
Yeah.
What else do we do? Okay, so emissions from fossil fuels. Okay. Emissions from fossil fuel warm the air, leading to more severe storms such as, anybody got an example? Hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, okay?
Heat waves.
So this summer, we had 11 hurricanes in 2024, and it caused $160 billion worth of damage, and you're gonna be paying higher home insurance premiums because of it. So this summer, they're predicting what? A warmer or a cooler summer?
Warmer.
Warmer, correct. Does anybody know why?
Super El Nino or something like that?
Yes, exactly. El Nino, very good. So El Nino brings warmer summers, and La Nina brings cooler summers. So you can listen for that. Now, what percent of the air in the United States is considered unhealthy? Got it, okay. What percent, does anybody have a guess?
30?
Okay, 46, actually. 46% of the air in the United States is considered unhealthy. And this results in life-threatening medical conditions such as asthma, allergies, heart disease, strokes, neurological disorders, breathing disorders, even dizziness, headaches, confusion.
Question, that percentage that you're talking about is percentage of locales?
Percentage across the United States. This is
Yeah, but by geography, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
okay.
And these, medical conditions are with the result of burning fossil fuels and carbon in the air. Even though you can't see it, it's still there. Now, countries without fossil fuel reserves can become energy independent by transitioning to renewable energy. If you haven't signed in the sign-in sheet, please do. So this is really the heart of my presentation, and you might want to listen up to this before you sign. Okay, because this is the crux of it. So, countries that don't have fossil fuel reserves, okay, they have to buy their fuel from another country. Let's say the EU and Russia. They have to buy their natural gas from Russia, right? So they have to pay Russia for their fuel, and also they can't speak out against Russia, if they're doing anything objectionable, such as invading Ukraine. Okay, so they have to be careful about what they say. So they're avidly pursuing going to renewable energy. More than half of their energy comes from renewables right now in the EU. And they're even, pursuing that more aggressively. So they don't have to pay Russia for their fuel. And they can speak out, if they're doing something objectionable, and they don't have to be, subject to political blackmail by another country that's aggressive. So that's what I wanted to stress. Got that. And China is the supplier of all this renewable energy, and we'll get to it in a minute.
I'll be right back. I'm bringing in one more thing.
This is due to Bell's practice, so
Yes.
they're not being rude. They're
I'm
just,
sorry.
as soon as they came in as soon as they could. All right. So China is the supplier of all of these renewable items, equipment, I should say. So here's a picture of unhealthy air in China. And they were doing a lot of burning of coal, because they have a lot of coal in China, and they were killing 7 million of their people like 10 years ago. Today they're only killing 2 million of their people with the unhealthy air. So they're progressing. They're
Transitioning.
right, to renewable energy. And I'll show you that on a later slide. So this is a picture of the pollution, and here's sign from over there. somebody objecting to the pollution. So this is the United States. Do you remember what this was in 2024?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 2023,
The Canadian
actually?
wildfires.
Wildfires in Canada.
Yes, exactly. Wildfires in Canada blanketed the whole Northeast in smoke, and the air quality was unhealthy. Does anybody remember the number, the unhealthy air quality number? High?
I think it was 400.
400, right? Ding, 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 ding. Good man. 400. 400,
What is
and healthy air is 50. 50 is healthy air, 400 unhealthy air. So here's a picture of the largest solar field in the world. And this is in the Tibetan Mountains in China. 16 gigawatts of power, 7 million panels, powering 5 million homes.
Wow.
Now notice, they located it on top of a mountain. On top of a mountain, it's closer to the sun. And also it's above the atmosphere and the haze, below. So they get a lot more solar power on those being located on a mountain. Here's another one in the Gobi Desert. 5 million panels producing 3.5 gigawatts of power, enough to power 2.5 million homes.
I got a question about,
Yeah. You want to
to-
go back to that one?
well, Tibet and the desert, if you were trying to serve people, you wouldn't put them out there, you would put them closer to the bigger cities. So what was their driver, do you know, of why they decided to put their solar panels out in an area where there's just not a huge number of people?
Well, you're correct. You have to have a transmission line to get the power to the people.
Right.
But apparently they decided it was cost effective to do that. I mean, they studied it. So I don't know the reason exactly why,
Yeah.
but certainly.
Well, nobody else was using the land.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
they had the
There you
land.
go.
My guess is
It's
that there
open
was,
land.
Mhm.
yeah, there was a lot of space to be able to do it.
Hmm. So here's
Wow.
the largest solar field in the United States. This is in the Mojave Desert. 300 megawatts. Now notice it's megawatts, not gigawatts.
not
That's
gigawatts.
like a gigawatt is 1,000 megawatts. So it's smaller, 750,000 panels serving 50,000 homes. This is the largest one we have. So we're not pursuing it. Here are some graphs showing the difference in clean energy investment between the United States. The red line above is China. The blue line below is the US. You can see they're about 3 times what we are investing. Here's another one with solar and nuclear. The red line above is China's solar. The blue line, light blue line all the way at the bottom is US solar.
Wow.
You can see that's like 2.5 times, 3 times as much. Now nuclear, we're actually ahead of China, but you see we're in a range and we're not adding anymore, but China is slowly going up and up and up, and pretty soon they're gonna meet us and maybe surpass us in nuclear even. Here's another graph showing China's investment in green energy. They're about 300. We are the brown line below the blue line. We're about 100. So we're like a third of what they're investing. And here's a bar chart showing the same thing. This one shows even more of a disparity. So the left one is China, and it's by year. So the lower bar is 2016, and the upper dark blue bar is 2024. So you can see every year they keep increasing, and if you see on the right, in the United States, it's not too much extra every year to get to that. And in the middle is the European Union. You see they're ahead of the United States because they're pursuing more actively and more aggressively renewable
this is,
power.
this is actually before that we pulled out of the climate accord?
This is
24?
year by year, well, it's 2015 is when we,
pulled
when
out.
we pulled out.
When we pulled out.
No,
He
it's
pulled
after.
out at the end of his
His
term,
first
and
term, his first
then
term.
Biden put us back in, and then he
Yeah.
pulled us out again, the beginning of the first year. The Iran war, well, with the Straits of Hormuz blocked, 20% of the oil supply is held up, and this is even more of an incentive for the rest of the world to go to renewable energy. Now, solar power. Solar power is 60% of the cost of natural gas burning plant. And it's also, you can bring it online in 2 years versus 6 years for a natural gas burning plant. So it's both cheaper and faster. And in 2024, actually, it became the cheapest source of power, solar power, and 92% of new power coming on stream was from solar. Solar takes no real estate. You can put it over parking lots, you can put it on flat roof buildings, you can put it on schools.
Well, it depends. I mean, like the Mojave Desert is covered with solar panels, so,
Yeah.
you know.
I don't
it
see a lot of
depends on where
parking
you
lots in
put it.
Mojave, does it there?
Yeah. But the school down
You
the
can put it
street-
on barren land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bridgewater, a high school, has all these solar panels in their parking lot, which really, actually, I think, is very smart because it serves two purposes. Because they're elevated, you can park under them
Yes.
and get the shade
Shade
in
in
the
the
summer.
summer.
Yeah, which is
And-
really great.
What in this winter? You
Ice
can
that
keep the
falls
snow
on-
off the cars in the winter.
Yeah, but I've been on them where the ice falls on people. In an arena,
Really?
they have to close underneath.
I've never had that.
Yes.
I've never heard of that
Maybe
experience.
they've done
Really?
something to it, but yes, ice would come crashing down on cars and people. And they actually had
Oh.
to, at least for whatever reason.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And true, it's not steel there. I'd love to calculate the cost of that steel versus, I mean, like a roof's a great idea, I think. But,
Yeah.
building these
It's like a
things
carport.
or-
It's like a carport,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, what percent of solar panels does China produce versus the US?
90.
You're close, ding, ding, ding. 80, ding, ding, ding. Okay, it's actually 85, right in between. So
Wow.
what percent does the US produce? Low.
10.
4%.
4%.
So they produce 85%, the US produces 4% of solar panels in the world. Now China's solar vertically integrated. They produce the polysilicon, they manufacture that, and that goes into the panels and they sell the panels. So they really have a lock on the market. The US has stopped funding and providing incentives for solar and wind. This is Trump, with him canceling the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. It was passed by a bipartisan Congress for $370 billion to transition to renewable energy. He canceled that, and so that has shut that part off. But I had noticed last year, driving to town, there were more houses with solar panels on them. On Route 28 over by the church. Remember the church put the solar panels, well, like 4 houses right after that put solar panels. And that was with the 30% rebate for installing the
Yeah.
solar. Now it's
gone.
slowed, he's kind of killed the market, actually.
Why, if I may ask, if solar has a massive operating cost advantage, is that because of the incentives? And if so, why would it need incentives if it's cheaper?
Well, even with the incentives, they say you'll get your payback. Now, that's what I've read.
Like 60% of the cost of natural gas, does that mean when it's incentivized or without the incentives?
Without the incentive. Yeah, it's without the incentive. That's a good question though. So, solar has a massive operating advantage over a natural gas burning plant. Just think about it, natural gas being burning plant, you need a combined cycle turbine generator, you need pumps, you need heat exchangers, you need vessels. All of that has to be maintained. A solar field, once you install it, it's virtually maintenance free, except you may have to replace the inverters, you know, if they go bad. But you know, it's massive.
Unless you have a really big hailstorm.
Well, I haven't had a hailstorm. Okay,
No,
go
but my
ahead.
daughter did,
But-
and she had all these solar panels
Yeah.
on her roof. And
Okay.
it ruined.
It
all
ruined the
so-
panels?
Yeah, because
Oh.
they had really big,
Hailstones.
yeah.
Yeah.
and so it took a long time for Tesla, cause they were Tesla solar panels, to come out and fix them. In the meantime, they were still paying for their initial investment
Yeah.
and also paying for the cost of electricity. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
right.
not perfect, but it's certainly a lot better than anything else we've got going.
Yeah. Well, solar panels are guaranteed for 25 years, so they replaced the solar panels, but it took them a while to get out.
Yes,
That's the problem.
half a year.
I will tell you, I have solar panels on my house, and they survived Hurricane Sandy, the wind. They didn't blow off the roof, which was really great. And they also survived, like, we had like 30 inches of snow one year, and I was wondering if it would, you know, be too much for the roof. It was fine, no
Wow.
problem with that. So they are pretty resilient.
The thing about solar is that it's of the right scale to make a huge impact, particularly if the efficiency can go up. I mean,
right.
the power of the sun is enormous.
Mhm.
And so I think there should be still a lot more work trying to get the efficiency of the panels up.
Yeah,
Because
that's what
it's really,
I see.
for stationary power,
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Wind, it's never gonna compete at the same level of solar, because the
Yeah.
reservoir of energy is not the same. But
Yeah.
but I don't know,
Wind
where is
is
the
6
efficiency now,
Yeah.
still around 10 or 15% for solar panels?
No, it's up around 22%,
Oh, that's
but it
good.
hasn't improved, you know, lately.
Yeah, so
Well,
you need a breakthrough.
yeah, wind, this is, wind power, onshore wind is only 50% of the cost of natural gas. What percent of wind turbines does China produce versus the US?
70%.
72, actually, very
Wow.
good, ding, 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 ding. And what percent does the US produce?
7,
Maybe
6?
9.
4.
Ooh,
Yeah,
4?
right.
4 is the magic
4%,
number.
4%.
Or start back to 50 is what I expect.
So by 2024, China reached its goal of 1.2 terawatts of wind and solar power 6 years ahead of schedule.
My God.
So terapower, we're talking megawatts, gigawatts, terawatts. That's 1,000 times a gigawatt. So
That's a lot of watt.
that's a lot. China has a massive wind farm project in the Gobi Desert, 7,000 wind turbines producing 20 gigawatts of power.
Wow.
Pretty impressive. 3 offshore wind projects in the Northeast canceled by Trump. Does anybody name one?
I think
Cape
Long
May,
Island?
off of
Long Island,
Cape May
yes.
County, off of Cape May County.
Cape May County.
I think
Okay,
around
yeah, that
Cape-
one.
Cape
Okay, that's
Cod.
New Jersey's.
Cape Cod.
Anybody?
Something.
Okay. The other one is off of Rhode Island. Revolution Wind Project. I don't know if you heard about it, but it was 85% complete. They had spent $3 billion on it, and Trump canceled it. The one off Long Island, they had spent 60% complete. There was $4 million.
There's another
Right.
one there.
Yeah,
Right there.
Share there.
Bring
maybe
it over.
Scoot it around. Okay. Can you see there? Okay. So that was $4 billion spent. So just think of government waste, okay? He canceled projects that were pretty much onto completion. So fortunately, the courts overturned them, and now they're proceeding,
Both of them?
both of them.
Oh, good.
Now, in New Jersey, okay, he canceled the offshore, 3 offshore wind projects that we had going.
That's
and
what
they just-
Andrew ran on.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, first of all, that's not his money to cancel, that's our taxpayer money. That was voted in on 2022 on the Inflation Reduction Act by a bipartisan Congress to fund those and provide those leases. So, he canceled it, but the judge ruling still pertains to New Jersey, so that's overturned. But the problem is that he scared away the wind farm, contractors from pursuing that, any more work there. So I say that we gotta call our elected representatives in Trenton and tell them, get those wind projects going again, and tell Trump, no future interference.
Hope they get rid of, have to get rid of Tom Kane and before we call anybody, he's never gonna do anything.
Well, I mean, we could call Booker and Kim,
Well, yeah, but
yeah, there are senators,
we're stuck with Kane,
I mean-
we live anyway.
okay. Or you can call Andrew Zwicker, he's state, Andrew Zwicker and Roy Fryman and Michelle Julis.
Mike
There's
Cheryl.
Call Mikey Sherrill, yeah. Yep, you could write to her and tell her that. So where am I now? Okay, so that's the last point there.
A question about
Yeah.
choices.
Oh,
The other day, they had the governor on the radio,
yeah,
and people were calling in to see whether she was gonna, get behind wind and solar.
yeah.
And she seemed to be saying she's getting behind, the, crap.
She's getting behind the crap?
The, building, nuclear.
Building nuclear,
Which,
yeah.
I think back when I was younger.
Yeah.
3 Mile Island happened and nobody really wanted anything to do with nuclear. But it seems, do you know whether there is, a piece here that they're gonna be using, or, there's new things that make the nuclear piece,
Safer.
cost-effective, safer,
Safer.
don't
Yeah,
have to worry
well,
about
there
what
is.
happens in
There's
50
small
years.
modular nuclear reactors, and actually Trump is behind that, which is surprising. Okay, he's for nuclear. But we have a lot of nuclear in the country, maybe that's one.
So will that be, in a couple of years, will that be one of your slides here, wind, solar, and
And
nuclear?
nuclear.
Or is nuclear really not a good thing?
No, nuclear is good because it doesn't put any carbon in the air.
Right.
Okay,
And it's
so
actually-
that's a good thing.
And it's actually safe.
We embrace nuclear.
It's actually safe.
Yeah, it's safe.
You can kind of
Safer.
guess who actually was behind the spooking of people and being, scared of nuclear.
The thing about nuclear is the permitting process, all
Right.
or regulations around nuclear. Like it takes 10 years to get a nuclear
Also,
plant up and
also
running.
NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard, right, yeah, that's part of it. But, they're trying to streamline the regulations and approval process. And, maybe then it will be more viable. They gotta get that down. I mean, it's just ridiculous now.
Well, I think, you were talking before about the vertical,
Vertically integrated.
integration that China has. Well, if we had a government that could vertically integrate, and states that would vertically integrate solar and wind, especially solar in housing, new builds. I mean, we
Yeah.
come from Annandale to this church, okay, so we go off of 28 and onto 22, and right there is this new housing development of huge development of luxury condos, okay? And I looked at them this morning and said to them, here is the perfect place where they could have put all the solar panels on those roofs that would hardly show. And they weren't, So if we could integrate this into our building codes, it would be so much better.
There's actually solar tiles. You don't even have to have panels
Yeah.
anymore. I have friends who did that. They did their entire roof. But I will say, they were at the Olympics when we had our lovely little blizzard. this winter, and I went over there, just lived like 2.5 miles from me, I went over to shovel. And let me tell you, the snowdrop, nothing hit me, but the snowdrop off that roof was so extreme when it finally did get enough warmth from the sun to release,
Yeah.
that it was like, you know, it was just like a pile up by the sides of their house where it had
Right,
melted.
right, yeah, yeah.
So I could see, depending, like, you know, I'm not architecturally minded, but I could see where it would really have to be like thought about in terms of angles and things like that if people went to tiles.
Well, to answer your question, Kathy, I mean, I think that adds to the cost of the development, you know, the units. And they don't wanna add any more cost to the units, you know, the real estate is so high as it is. There are different things that you can do, and it gets kinda sticky. There's the power purchase agreement, there's leasing the panels, you know, and then if the developer gets into that, how does he pass that on to the owners later on? You know, it's kind of,
But ultimately, you, I mean, if you've lived there long enough, you would recoup from not
oh,
paying
yeah,
electricity.
oh, definitely. Yeah,
And you'd save on
I
the
mean,
furnaces and all that, I don't know.
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Does the church
So, I
here
mean-
have solar
No,
panels?
and I
This
thought-
church, no.
and
But they were buying from a green energy supplier at one time.
Joe, is it still the case that when, if you collect, the power companies, that if you collect more than your house is using, they will buy the addition, the power, the
Oh,
extra
yeah,
power?
yeah.
So you actually can even make money
You can
off
make
of your
money,
solar
yeah,
panels
right,
from PSE&G or JPL?
yeah.
But they won't let you buy more than your.
No, that's
they
true,
look at your
yeah, that,
record and
Yeah.
they
yes,
don't let
they
you
won't
buy
let you
twice as
buy
much as you
more
want.
than
and- yeah,
your,
yeah.
your 100% usage, you
Yeah.
know, when you put the solar panels on.
Yeah.
But just to give you, you know, my experience, I mean, last summer, my bills were like $7, and my friend, his bill was 400, you know, he didn't have solar panels. That's when the electric costs jumped, you know, because of what they had gotten the power for. But anyway, I was really happy I had solar panels then, you know, it really paid off, you know, last summer I mean.
Now, what about some states, I heard that even if you had solar panels, you'd still be charged a certain amount because they're trying to distribute the cost of electricity throughout the state, like California or something?
Well, it's not
I
New
don't know,
Jersey,
not in New
is all I
Jersey,
could
yeah,
tell you,
that's
yeah, right.
Could I'd just like to
Yeah.
introduce something, just, and I don't have a lot of information about it, or maybe you do, Joseph, because I think Joseph's been involved with energy conservation in the church. I don't know if you said that from the outset, but trying to conserve
Yeah.
energy in our church. And apparently our church is a good candidate for placement of batteries, a large battery bank, somewhere on the property, I don't know where, but I'm looking into that. It would potentially save the church money, and it would service the community, like in the event of power failures. It's a very intriguing idea, so I just wanted to, maybe not the best timing, but just wanted to introduce that.
It's battery
Something we're
storage
exploring,
of,
yes.
but you have to have something that,
Solar,
yeah, you
To
have to have
feed it,
solar
right?
that feeds it.
Well, it may not, it may be just regular, I don't know if it's combined with solar or if it's just, you know, charging at night when electricity is cheaper.
Oh, I
There's,
see.
you know, I've arranged to have, you know, I've expressed interest in that, and so that the trustees could explore that, and, you know, it's maybe not quite the same
not
level of what
really
you're talking about,
integrated
but
with
it,
this, yeah.
it-
We could pursue that offline, you know.
Yeah.
I
Red
mean,
Bank
yeah.
Methodist put on solar panels, Red Bank Methodist.
Mhm.
And, at that point, there weren't many incentives, so there were a group of, not to suggest this would happen here, but a group of leaders funded it. And then the church paid them back as it was, and now they're totally solar, so.
Yeah, they talked
Yeah,
about
it's-
that one
it's-
time.
Yeah,
the
it's, pretty
church
exciting
members
looking
buying
behind it.
We talked
solar
about it
panels.
at
Yeah,
our
Yeah.
church
Yeah,
too,
but-
from time to time. At the moment, our roof is,
Like to move
pretty
on.
old
Yeah.
and going to need to be reshingled, so
yeah,
it's,
I think
it's
we
not
need to get back
declining.
on track, I
Okay.
wanna keep it, reasonable. Okay, so EVs, China produces what percent of the EVs versus US?
90.
What were they?
70.
70 is the word, yeah, 70. You get the prize.
Oh.
And the US produces
4.
5.
10%. So you see, these numbers are all about the same order of magnitude, China supplies us 90% of the rare earth magnets, and if you remember when Trump imposed the tariffs on China,
Yeah,
they said, well, we're not gonna send you rare earth magnets, okay? And that's like, okay, let's back up here. Because these rare earth magnets are used in cars, smartphones, electronics, MRIs, even your refrigerators, your home appliances, your washing machines, it's used in everything. So, this is another one, the autonomous driving, which I'm looking for as I get older. I'm looking for some car to ride me around rather than me having to drive it. So you need these processors for that, the batteries. And the EV rebate was canceled by Trump. Does anybody know how much that was?
7,500?
7,500. Ding, 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 you get the prize. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, I mean, the fact that we're only manufacturing 7% of the EVs, we could always increase the percentage of it and manufacture more, but the fact that China is doing it, I mean, China has its own problems. I mean, maybe as far as efficiency goes and as far as windmill power and other sources of energy that are clean and environmentally good for the environment, is one of their projects where they're throwing a lot of money in, and that's great, but they also have other pollution causing industries that they're not.
That's the coal industry.
Well, there's
And I
many
covered
more
that in the beginning of the presentation when you weren't here. So, I mean, coming in late, you miss some of the things that I
Oh,
covered.
okay, but
No,
they,
but
but they
there
also
are-
have
yeah.
deep mining that they wanna do offshore. They also wanna have a permanent space station on the moon. They also want an IP address that will drop, and they have like these long-term projects that are.
Well, you're
gonna
bringing in
change.
a lot of things
I
that
know
I'm
I
not
am.
talking about.
No, I know I'm not, but I
I
mean,
mean-
what I'm focusing on is their.
Be specific to what I'm presenting here.
Okay, they have environmental concerns that they're hiding that are real, and although they have, I'm just saying this in general, although they have hit targets as far as wind power and safe electricity and solar paneling, etc., there still is a lot of problems. I'll just end it there. I don't wanna go
I
off
mean,
on many other things.
You're bringing up a lot of things and it's all generalities, okay? So I'm not gonna even address that.
Okay.
So here's a table of what the renewables, that materials to the world, and what China supplies versus the US. So we did the first three, so I'll just skip down to what's used in EV batteries. Lithium, China 70%, US 1%. Graphite, China 95%, US 0. Magnesium, China's 95%, US 0. Aluminum 60%, US 1. And then steel, we're only half of what China produces. But I'll skip down past the others because they're kind of small. Smartphones, China produces 75%, US 0. Rare earth, here's the rare earth, 90%, US 2%. So one thing about the smartphones is that it costs 3 times the amount to produce a smartphone here. And also, we're not as detailed oriented as they are on Taiwan or, China where they produce them. They're very, like minute detail and very patient people. I don't think we're the most patient people. I'm not, at least. So anyway, there's other reasons also. Batteries and critical materials. This is the backbone of clean energy. Lithium, cobalt, nickel, rare earth. China leads in lithium battery production and development. So that's an important piece. And the US lacks the domestic supply for critical materials. In 2023, worldwide clean energy added 1.5 million jobs, whereas fossil fuel industry added less than 1 million. So here's this chart, showing the temperature each year compared to the average. And this is from 1850 to today. Now, does anybody remember what this chart is called? Hockey stick, correct. Ding, ding, ding. So I want to focus on the right side of the chart from 1980, where the red lines start going consistently above the average. And from 1980 till today, you see every year is warmer than average, but especially from the year 2000 to today, 24 of the last 25 years have been the warmest on record. And we keep getting warmer and warmer each year.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me if we don't have the natural resources for this, there's not much we can do about it. Is that true or not? Like lithium, cobalt, magnesium.
Okay, I'm coming to that.
Oh, okay.
I'm coming
Great,
to that.
thank you.
Okay. So what the US can do, nice segue into this part of it. So commit to a clean energy policy. Restore the IRA funding of $370 billion that was cut by the big ugly bill. 3, boost funding for the green economy, build facilities here. 4th, strengthen international partnerships to get the source of materials we don't have domestically. 5, invest in domestic manufacturing and R&D. And 6, this will create high-paying tech jobs and secure our supply chain. Now bring us back on the right path where 193 nations are going of the world, and away from the path we're on that the rest of the world is on. Lastly, what we can do individually. Well, call your elected representatives, tell them we're going in the wrong direction toward oil, the rest of the world is going to the green economy. Call Kim Booker, and forget about the other one. Secondly, call your state representatives to tell them to get funding restored for offshore wind projects. Okay, this is not his money, it's our money, our taxpayer money. And states' rights, and no interference in the future. 3rd, join local environmental organizations. They do things like community gardens. 4th, sound off to businesses about waste. For example, Amazon, over packaging. And lastly, I got this prop here. Skip the stuff. Okay, when you order takeout, they automatically throw these plastic utensils wrapped in plastic, notice.
Save as much as possible, but eventually you can't save anything.
Yeah, we're drowning in plastic. So tell them no plastic when you order takeout. Now the bill was passed, skip the stuff. Murphy passed it before he left office. But it has a 180-day review period, so we're still not in the mandatory part of it yet. But they should not be putting these in your takeout. And lastly, I'll leave you with this quote from Robert Redford. The environment isn't just another cause for me. It's about what kind of world we're going to leave behind for our children and grandchildren. It's not politics, it's responsibility. So that ends my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I'll take questions now. Did I put you all to sleep?
I think I have a question.
Yeah.
It's, in terms of my perspective, it's very difficult to, create harmonious, relationships with other countries because we have a president that's so erratic. And, so I don't think during this administration, there's a chance of creating friendships between countries that have, stuff that we need, you know? Because we just, I mean, Trump wants to just take over the countries, you know? Greenland, for instance, you know,
Yeah.
why not just?
Canada.
Yeah, right. And it doesn't create a lot of cooperation and, you know, that kind of thing. So I think it's really important, more important, to focus on the politics of the situation and vote for people that do have a sense of, earth responsibility.
Right. So the important thing about, I agree with you, but the important thing is in the primary, which is coming up in June, okay, to get people in there that will, you know, push in the environment and you know, be really concerned about the environment, get people elected, and also people that will, you know, challenge the administration on all of these illegal things that they're doing. That's the only thing we can do right now.
I take over Congress, get the Republicans in a small minority, and then they get something done. Until that happens, they're all, you know, under the Führer's thumb. They're just terrified to disobey, so we're just stuck.
Yeah,
There's
well,
no question.
it's a little discouraging, you're right, yeah, I mean, it's very discouraging, but that's why I'm, you know, protesting or, you know, going to these rallies. Yes, sir.
There was talk of an international organization, you mentioned there's 193 nations that are trading, of keeping environmental standards if they're going to produce raw materials. And if they uphold these environmental standards in the countries that they're in, they'd be admitted to a committee or international organization of trade that may limit the amount of bad byproducts getting into the water system or causing other difficulties, or is that a possibility, or is anyone speaking about that?
I haven't heard about that, but that sounds like a positive approach, you know, and that's something that would address climate change. Yeah.
Joe, Joseph, what are they doing about extending nuclear power licenses? And I think Salem and Oyster Creek, I was hearing that we're gonna try that. Do you know much about that? If they've been able to extend the nuclear?
They're still producing, I mean,
Yeah.
48% of our energy in this state comes from nuclear. It's either 48 or 42%. But, you know, they're still producing, you know. I know there was a nuclear plant went in Georgia, a large one, but
Right.
I haven't heard of a lot of nuclear plants being built, even though they have these small nuclear. Oh, the one thing I've heard is that these big AI, these big data centers, they're gonna provide small modular nuclear reactors at the site to supply the energy for these data sites.
Tremendous uses.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's happening.
That's good, because I guess they use a lot of power.
They use a lot of power. They should produce their own power.
Yeah.
So they're even talking about solar fields adjacent to these data centers.
And the storm won't be able to knock them out.
Yeah. Right.
I think we should probably